You've seen us use these awesome polypropylene weapons in many of our videos. This time we're going to go into more detail about our favorite training weapons. Back in the day, if you wanted a training weapon and you didn't want to break the bank on a metal one, you would be looking at wood would be your only other alternative. When it came to stick fighting, that was pretty much your only choice anyway. And what you would get is things that look like this. Now this one's made out of rattan, but this end here is all shredded. This side shredded too. You can see duct tape on it. Hey, you go to Kali classes back in the day, this is what you'd find, sticks covered with duct tape, because these things can be expensive to replace. Well, you don't need those anymore because look, they now have them in polypropylene. We'll see if we can get a close-up shot of this, but it looks like an actual bamboo stick. The number one problem is how heavy it is. It is a lot heavier than one that's made out of wood. So if you want a light one, this one might not be your best choice, but if you want something that you can train with and not break, you're never going to be able to break this one. Besides the Kali stick, the other wooden weapon we would train a lot with was the wooden boken. And the wooden boken is great because this one here is made out of oak. It's about the weight of an actual sword. But we wouldn't just be swinging these around in the air. We'd be swinging them around at each other, doing two-man sets and smacking one boken against another. What happens eventually, you get little dents in it, the wood starts scratching, and if you train with it a lot or particularly heavy, the wood breaks. We had that happen in a demonstration, and you have this little jagged piece of wood flying off, and you just have a pointed stick left in your hand. So that's where the polypropylene boken comes in. And this is great because, again, it's about the same weight as that oak one, but it also comes with a sheath so you can practice your drawing on it. It's injection molded, so we'll get a closer look at this. It's got this nice grip on it so it doesn't want to slip out of your hand. And you can smack this thing around as hard as you want. We've been doing that a lot here. I don't even see dents on it. Maybe a little bit of marring from just smacking them against each other, but this won't snap off in the middle of the demonstration. We have put these through a lot of punishment. And even when it comes down to the other wood swords that were popular back in the day, the wood longsword and the wood broadsword. Now you could get metal ones of these, they were really expensive. The wood ones though, you can see how thin these are. If you got a wood longsword, you'd be using that for training for forms. You're not using that for weapon against weapon. You would even be afraid of dropping one of these because you might break the crossbar or even just snap the blade in half if you dropped it on a hard floor. But now that they have polypropylene ones, you can use them for forms, you can use them for two-man sets, you can even do some light sparring with them very easily. In fact, the polypropylene weapons are so durable that we use them when we shot our sword throwing videos. This is one that went through an awful lot of punishment. It got thrown quite a bit. Don't notice any damage anywhere on the sword except for the very corner of the crossguard got broke off because it hit on a really hard piece of wood at one point. If that was a wood sword, you'd be replacing the whole thing. I'm sure we would have shattered the blade easily. If it was a metal one, well, you saw us bend metal blades. This one is still perfectly straight. One of the great things about injection molding and polypropylene is you can get weapons made in any shape or size. For instance, this European longsword, big, heavy weapon. Really good for training because, boy, you're going to get tired after using it. And you can find these made in wood, but they're very expensive because it has to be made from one piece, and usually it's very beautiful wood, and you would not want to smash it against things. This is another one of those weapons that we were using for our sword throwing video for practice. And this part right here cracked and came off. It's the crossguard, and it was right where the seam was. So all we had to do is put it back on and re-glue it. You never know the difference. It's the same weapon as before and very sturdy. Something like this tiger hook is so intricate, you would have a really hard time finding this in wood. We even scoured the internet and we couldn't find a made out of wood. Even if you could, look at how many points are on that. If you drop the thing, you're gonna have to buy a new one. This one is maybe a little bit lighter than a real one that's made out of metal, but it's still pretty heavy, and it has all the important aspects of a regular tiger hook. That, and if you're doing 2-man sets, you're never going to break or bend one of these. And then the last two we wanted to talk about was this Sai and this Tonfa. Now the Sai is pretty cool because, again, it's not metal. I could drop this. If it hits my foot, it might hurt a little bit. But one of these metal Sai are very heavy, and you might injure your foot if you drop it or damage the floor even. However, this one, nice and lightweight. If I'm trying to get some realistic training with it, this may not be my best option. But for the most part, when we have students learning, we have them use these at first because they're a little bit safer. If you're doing 2-man sets, I'd rather get hit in the finger with one of these than a metal one. But then we have the Tonfa, and this is great. I would say it's probably even better than the wood Tonfa that you would get. It's nice and heavy, all one solid piece. You're never gonna break this. The only advantage that the wood Tonfa would have is depending on the wood or the finish, it might be a little bit more beautiful than this just black piece of plastic. But I would have to say for self-defense, this is probably the superior model.
When looking into training weapons, wooden weapons can be beautiful works of art. They can enhance any wall or any form that you're doing. On the other hand, for about the same price, you can get a polypropolene sword that can go through any amount of punishment that you would put it through, and it'll last you a lifetime. What's your preference with training weapons? Would you rather yours be beautiful or durable? Leave a comment down below.
As with any skill, it takes practice and proper training to get good at it. So make sure you look for a good school in your area. If you're in Southern Oregon, contact us for our locations and times. Thanks for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, like it and make sure to share that with a friend. Click the subscribe button and then hit that notification bell so you can catch our next exciting video.